What's up everybody and welcome back to another installment of Tom Talks, and today I'm going to be reviewing a little movie called Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
They've no idea we're coming.
Take hold of this moment. The Force is strong. Make 10 men feel like 100.
We'll take the next chance. And the next. You're rebels, aren't you?
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
But before we dive into that, it's worth pointing out that this is indeed going to be a spoiler-filled review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So if you haven't seen it, I implore you to go and see it before carrying on any further with this review. But in terms of kind of my general impressions, no spoilers. It is a very, very good movie. So much so that it exceeded my expectations. Going into this, having seen some of the trailers, I thought it was going to be great, but I had my kind of reservations and doubts in regards to certain aspects of the movie. But I walked out ultimately very, very pleased, just having a huge smile on my face. And yeah, it exceeded my expectations. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you have to see this movie. You really do. I'm sure many Star Wars fans will go and see it regardless, but you really have to see this one in particular. And yeah, if you're just more of a casual Star Wars fan, then it's a great movie, fun time, all the rest of it. But in terms of why exactly Rogue One is great, in my opinion, I have a document here to my right with a few bullet points that talk about it, but we'll get into kind of spoilers along the way. So this is your final warning. So yeah, first of all, why I think Star Wars Rogue One is fantastic is because it made me care about the group of characters when they inevitably were going to die by the end, and they do so. Going into this, understanding what Rogue One is about, and kind of the elevator pitch is these group of kind of heroes, this squadron, this rogue squadron, come together to kind of steal the Death Star plans, and then that feeds into A New Hope. And you kind of think, okay, yeah, that's great, but you know, it's inevitable that these are going to die. They haven't popped up in the original trilogy anywhere. So you kind of thought going in that they were going to die, and they do, which is why I was kind of concerned that maybe it was going to struggle to make me care about the characters at all. You know, if I was going in kind of expecting them to die, you know, why on earth would I kind of latch onto them and care about them in any way? But the film does a really good job of making me do so to varying degrees. Obviously, Felicity Jones's character, Jyn Erso, is kind of at the forefront of this movie. She's the character you empathise with the most right off the bat. You kind of learn more about her backstory and how her mother was murdered by General Krennic, who's played by Ben Mendelsohn, and her father, who's played by Mads Mikkelsen, is taken away from her at a very early age and used to kind of build the Death Star. But yeah, the film does a great job of making me care about each of the characters. They kind of, each of them have their own kind of little moments, and you kind of latch onto them in that respect. There was a great kind of chemistry between them all by the end. The way kind of they all and inevitably form this kind of squadron is done really nicely. And yeah, it's kind of it gets emotional by the end when they start to fall and perish. Even though kind of you've only known these characters for an hour or so. Second of all, I love the tone. I think the tone of Rogue One is fantastic, and that was very much established in the trailers. It's much more gritty and dark to a certain extent, and you really feel like that this is a story about kind of the people more so than kind of the bigger picture sort of thing. You know, Star Wars has always been about kind of galactic warfare and Jedis and the Sith and, you know, all that sort of thing. But this is very much about kind of the soldiers, and, you know, comparisons that some of the cast have made to the likes of like Saving Private Ryan, I think are valid to a certain degree. Obviously, granted, it's, you know, far less harrowing, but, you know, it's still a Star Wars movie to appeal to a wide audience. But those kind of comparisons are valid. It's a really beautiful movie as well. The cinematography in this is awesome. There's some fantastic shots of, like, I think you see one of them in one of the trailers of the Death Star kind of blocking out the sun, and there's a lot of great kind of long shots, if you will, of kind of planets, and it's just really beautiful imagery in the whole movie. It's really shot really nicely. And so yeah, so hats off to Gareth Edwards, the director and the cinematographer, for that. And I'd be remiss not to talk about Darth Vader. My God, it's just so fucking awesome when you see him appear on screen. So cool. Like it's Rogue One in a nutshell is such a huge love letter to Star Wars and the original trilogy, but it also, what's great about it is it also stands on its own 2 feet as a kind of, as I say, like as a very grounded kind of war movie, basically, about troops and all the rest of it. But when you see Darth Vader, come on screen, he's not in it for very long. He's in it for, I would say, like 2 scenes. One of the scenes is you see him in some of the trailers where he walks out the smoke to meet Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn's character, and that scene is fantastic. When he comes out the smoke and you see him, like you gasp, and like I had a huge smile on my face. But when you hear his voice and you recognise that it's James L. Jones, the original voice actor for Darth Vader in the original trilogy, you're just blown away. It's just so awesome, such fan service. It's just splendid, it really is. And he has, so he's in it for that scene, which is a couple of minutes long, and then there's one scene at the end which is just so badass. Basically, the Death Star plans have been shot up to this ship from the planet that I forget the name of, but basically the shields have been dropped, the plans have been transmitted up to a ship, and Darth Vader basically intercepts this ship, goes on board, and has this great scene where he's in a corridor of the ship, and there's a load of like rebel troops trying to desperately get out of this door and pass the plans to somebody and escape with the plans, and he's just mowing these rebel troops down with a lightsaber. He's like picking them up with the force choke, slamming them against the walls, and it's so claustrophobic. Think of, if you've seen X-Men Apocalypse, think of the whole Wolverine Logan scenario where he's just absolutely tearing through and killing people, and he's just so like powerful. Think of that, but it's Vader, and there's such a great shot of where all the rebel troopers like hear this door open, and they've all got their sights trained on this like dark part of the end of the hallway, and you just see the red lightsaber appear, and obviously Darth Vader's then figure and his silhouette becomes kind of illuminated from the red lightsaber. It's just, it's so awesome, and you just see the facial expressions in the troopers like, holy crap, we are gonna die. And like the guy right at the end's like desperately trying to pull open the door, and he inevitably passes the plans to another soldier, who then boards another ship and like flies off, sort of thing. That's fantastic. Really great. And that's what I liked. Like, I was afraid that he was going to be kind of shoehorned into the movie too much, and it detracted away from kind of the other characters and stuff, but he's in it just enough to make you just to make you smile, really, as a Star Wars fan. Such great fan service. There's a lot of Easter eggs in it as well, which is why, as I say, it's a huge love letter to Star Wars and the franchise. It's clear that kind of Gareth Edwards is a huge fan of Star Wars himself, and he puts in a load of like creatures that you recognize from the original trilogy. But really, the 2 big notable Easter eggs is Grand Moff Tarkin is in the movie, and he has a pretty decent role in the movie and a lot of screen time. Obviously, the actor who plays him passed away, but through the magic of CGI, and it's quite believable CGI in all fairness, just about. Much like they did the whole young Tony Stark thing in Civil War. You can tell it's CGI, but it's good, basically, and it's good, and it does just enough to make you believe it. Yeah, so he's in the movie, which was very surprising, but awesome nonetheless to see him crop up. And then there's another one right at the end, right at the very end before the credits close, where that rebel soldier I talked about earlier hands the plans to Princess Leia, and she turns around and it's a young Carrie Fisher, and she says something like, the rebel trooper's like, what have they give you here, Princess? And she's like, they've given us hope, or something, and the credits roll, and you're just like, oh my god, that's so good. So good. So yeah, lots of Easter eggs in the film, really nice touches, and yeah, it kind of makes me want to go and watch A New Hope now, because it seems like Rogue One takes place right before A New Hope, really. It seems like, the two kind of feed into each other quite quickly, which is really cool. What else have I got here? Yeah, the cast was great, as I mentioned. Felicity Jones was really, really good. Mads Mikkelsen, of course, is a tremendous actor. Ben Mendelsohn does a great job, as does Forrest Whitaker and the rest of the cast. They all did a splendid job. So yeah, that is basically my thoughts about the movie. It's really, really awesome. And to address kind of the elephant question in the room, really, is it better than The Force Awakens? Now, I've seen people kind of say that it is, but it's really hard to compare the two movies, in my opinion. They're so different. They're so different, and that's what I like about Rogue One. Is it's and if the kind of the rest of the standalone spin-off Star Wars movies are like this, then it's great. You know, it's different from the mainline trilogy in the sense that all Star Wars movies are fantastical, you know, obviously, but the mainline trilogy are meant to appeal to a much wider audience. There's something about them that makes them more of these kind of theatrical production sort of thing, whereas Rogue One certainly felt like a more, as I say, a more grounded and gritty movie, but at the same time it felt like Star Wars. So yeah, they're two completely different movies, even though they take place in the same universe and they have very similar plots to a certain degree. But yeah, it's hard. Like, I loved The Force Awakens, and I love Rogue One. I love Rogue One just as much. I won't say one's better than the other, but they are both fantastic movies. So yeah, that's it. That is basically my thoughts on Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Go and see it. I would strongly recommend you do so. Star Wars fans need to see it, but it's a great movie, and it's in its own right as well. So, you know, hats off to Gareth Edwards and Gary Whitta, the writer, and the whole cast and crew. They did a splendid job. Ticked all the boxes, will please many Star Wars fans, no doubt. And it is certainly the best Star Wars prequel, let's put it that way. So yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out this review. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And until the next one, folks, take it easy, and may the Force be with you.